it's been some interesting times, and I think that we're all taking it in different ways, and every day is a new day. So some days I feel great, and yeah, for the most part, I feel really great. I feel protected. I'm glad that we are sequestering and glad that we are taking this time to slow the virus down so that our first responders can handle it and keep us, as safe as they can. It's a complicated issue. I think that there's a lot of collective fear out there, a lot of collective unrest. I don't think people are accustomed to being alone or even sequestered inside and taken off, derailed from their natural path. I think that it's a big adjustment for everybody to make, and I think that adversity in general is difficult for people to face. And I think that all of this time being alone is bringing up a lot of different things for a lot of different people. So some people who are sequestered alone might already have anxiety. They might already suffer from anxiety, and that might be coming up in these days. They might also already suffer from fear. They might already suffer from avoidance. So all of the being contained is actually bringing this up even more. So we can see it as a struggle, or we can see it as an opportunity. Those of us who are fortunate enough and privileged enough to be able to see it as an opportunity could indeed reframe it into an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, and and that. So I'm going to start with hey John again. You're awesome. I'm going to start today with just asking you to close your eyes and make a picture of yourself after this video is done. After I tell you all about mind science and parts and trauma and the way the brain stores information, just make a picture of yourself in the best case scenario of walking away from this video, what you would like for yourself, how you would like to be feeling after watching this video. Perhaps you would like to have a better understanding of your own mind, because that's really what I'm here for. I help empower people by letting them get in touch with their own mind and their own emotions and their parts, and how to work with those parts to create a better life experience. That's what I do. So perhaps in that picture that you're making of yourself, turning off this video when I'm done and going off into your day, into your Saturday, beautiful Saturday afternoon with a nice healing rain, maybe you will have a better understanding of your own mind and how your own mind works. And just feel what that feels like in your body. Does that feel good? Does it feel scary? Does it feel overwhelming, or does it feel empowering? We'll see. I'm going to start with just kind of breaking everything down. So I'm a somatic healer. I'm also a massage therapist. I'm a somatic NLP practitioner. So Neuro Linguistic Programming is NLP, just so you know. And so what is somatic healing? Somatic healing is, it's basically taking healing to a holistic level, where instead of just approaching, like through massage, I might be approaching a specific ailment, a physical specific ailment. And in talk therapy, we might be trying to achieve something that you're experiencing specifically mentally. And somatic healing is where we combine the two in a holistic form, and we're looking at a little bit of we kind of like zoom out the camera and look at a bigger map, a map of the body and of the mind, and how the two of those things, the mind and the body, store your life experiences. So that's what a somatic healer does. It is examining and looking at the relationship between the mind and the body and the experiences that the mind and the body have stored. That's what we do. So that gives you a little bit of an understanding of what I do. Although I have studied and practice Neuro Linguistic Programming. What is Neuro Linguistic Programming? Well, Neuro Linguistic Programming. So wait, let's just back up for a second. So I just want to make sure that you understand the somatic healing. So when I say zooming out the camera to look at the holistic aspect, it's kind of like when you look at a forest. If you're walking in a forest and you're just looking at the path, you're missing a lot. What could you be missing? If you're looking at the path in a forest, you might be seeing like the trunks of the trees in your peripheral vision and some greenery. But if you were to zoom out that picture, you would be able to see you walking in the forest, and you would be able to see maybe some moss, and maybe you would zoom it out even further. You might be able to see some weather patterns coming in. And zoom it out further, you might see a tree fall. You might zoom it out further, you might see an eagle flying. So there's a lot that we miss when we get real specific, and there's a lot that we can discover when we zoom out that lens and take a broader perspective. So somatic healing is doing that. It's a very powerful healing modality that looks at the way that we do things and looks at the way we've stored things in our bodies. The neuro-linguistic programming piece, NLP, so neuro is the brain, and linguistics is the pictures, smells, tastes, sounds. So it's taking in all of this information every moment in every experience. So right now you're taking in my voice, you're taking in whatever sounds that are in your house right now or wherever you might be, and the brain is taking the linguistics, the pictures, sounds, smells, and tastes of that moment and somehow making sense of it. And the programming is the sequence in which it chooses to program all of that information. So how does it want to store that information? In a neutral setting where there's no threat, it's just continuing to store it, usually like off to the left. It's storing it to the left. In a traumatic situation, when the brain experiences trauma, it tends to store it to the right. And they've discovered this via eye tracking eyes and watching people, studying people and studying the brain, that it tends to store it off to the right. Well, the right is where we make visual constructed pictures. So we are making new pictures of new things off to the right, up here in this quadrant. We make remembered pictures to the left. So if we have experienced something, it should be stored to the left, stored to the left, stored to the left. But what happens in a traumatic situation, whether it's a childhood trauma or any trauma really, many times the brain will store it off to the right. And it'll be a blinking light, and it's in this place over here. This quadrant, if I asked you to imagine yourself with wings and a tail flying through the air, lifting off and seeing your home. You have to make that whole picture off to the right. That's where you make new pictures. It's not where you have remembered pictures, but the brain is so intelligent that in a traumatic situation, it will store information off to the right. So it's a blinking light, and it's warning you, never experience this again, never experience this again, never experience this again. So that right there is enough to create a behavioral pattern that will protect you from ever experiencing that again. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about neuro-linguistic programming. It's the brain and in the ways in which it stores information. Somebody who practices neuro-linguistic programming could have a plethora of skills and tools in which to help you with behavioral patterns that are no longer serving you, which is what I help do. So let's talk about behavioral patterns. So we talked about the brain and how it stores information and how it stores it in traumatic situations. And then let's talk about and then the behaviors that occur because of that to protect again from ever experiencing that bad experience again, that negative experience again. And so the behaviors that occur after that create patterns in our life, and patterns that aren't healthy or don't bring happiness, prevent us from getting what we want in life, preventing our best life experience. So working with these behavioral patterns, or parts is what I call them, and what most people working in this field call them, is parts. In working with the parts, we can get to know them, and we can bring them out of the darkness and into the light, so that we can see the sides of us and understand the patterns and what they want. So let's talk about the deeper ecology of parts. So a part, like say the part of you that does anxiety or fear or avoidance or acceptance or spontaneity, or could be anything, could be positive, could be negative. The part has a deeper ecology that we can look at. We can say, oh, I hate it when I do this. I hate this anxiety. It drives me crazy. It's stopping my life from happening the way I want it to. I hate my fear. I want to get rid of my fear, and this dismissal of these parts just makes them come up even more and sneak up on you and sabotage your lives in ways that you don't even know. So rather than dismissing them, let's understand them a little bit more. So let's understand anxiety. Anxiety, let's just start with generically with parts. So every part has a positive intention, and every part is equal. They're created equal. So every part has a positive intention, and every part is created equal, and no part ever gets fired. So under the roof of neuro-linguistic programming and my somatic work in Chulandia here, no part ever gets fired. We understand two things about parts. One is that they each have a positive intention, and they have a method to carry out that intention. So each part has a positive intention, and if you're writing with me, you might want to just write this down. Every part has a positive intention, and every part has a method in which to carry out the positive intention for you. Okay? So even in the worst case scenario, somebody's got a gun and they pull the trigger to shoot somebody. The shooting somebody is the method. It's terrible. It doesn't work. But the method is trying to carry out some positive intention, like, I want to be loved, I want to be seen, I want to be understood, I want to be safe, I want to be, whatever it might be. So it's really important that we always start with an acceptance of all parts, that they're all created equally. It's really important to understand that that our parts have these methods in which they carry out their positive intention, and that they have these beautiful positive intentions for us. So that's important stuff to know when you're doing parts work. So if you do have a part that that is having anxiety, as a somatic healer, I would probably have you on the table, and we would find out where in your body does this anxiety reside. Where does it start? Where does it first bubble up? You know, we take our time, we drop into the body, and find out where it starts and how it moves through the body and where you might feel it. And then we dialogue with it. We dialogue with our parts, and we find out, what do you want for me? So we ask the part of anxiety, what do you want for me? And we ask it questions like, when did you start working for me? How old was I? And we ask it to give us pictures, and we try to stay out of our mind when we ask it these questions. What might have happened to me if you never came around, if you never started working for me? What might have happened to me if I didn't have you on my side? So here we're starting to find out the deeper ecology of this part, what it wants for you, how it works for you. What might I lose if I didn't have you? All of these different questions we can ask. Same thing with fear. We tap into the fear, find out where it lives in our body. There's a lot of collective fear right now with the COVID-19 and what's to come. There's so many unknowns. Fear of losing our livelihoods, fear of losing our homes, fear of losing our lives. There's a lot of fear. So that's a whole other subject matter of fear is a whole other subject matter I'd love to talk to you about, and the collective fear right now. And but how about we just start with our own and just spend some time with it, getting to know it. So yeah, we would dialogue with the fear, reminding it that we know that it has a positive intention for us and that its method is different than the intention. So the constant scrolling, the constant looking on the web and see what's going on, the irritation that you might feel with fear, or just that flight response, what it does for you in particular, each individual is so different. So we would, dialogue with that fear and find out more about it. So we're going to be doing all of this, and we're not going to do it today. I want to give you this today just as a start to just to understand a little bit about this interesting modality of Neuro Linguistic Programming. These people, Richard Bandler and John Grinder and Lynn, I forgot her last name, Judith Delosier. So these teachers back, these students at UC Santa Cruz, I think they were all at UC Santa Cruz years ago, developed this method. They were looking at all of these people and how they were studying different people and different lives, and how some lives just were really struggling and other lives were doing great, and they didn't quite understand what, they would line people up with exactly similar, how they grew up, similar economics, similar life frameworks. Everybody's framework would be very similar, but then one person's life would not be working out at all, and they would not be achieving their goals, and another person would be achieving their goals and getting things done and feeling, successful, whatever that means, feeling happy and content. They couldn't figure out like why is it, so they really wanted to study that, and they started studying the mind and mind science and eye tracking, and how when we are remembering things that we've heard, our eyes will track to the left, and when we're remembering things that we've seen, our eyes will track to the left up here. So it's kind of interesting when we don't know, when we look at somebody and we're like, I don't know, and we look up searching for that answer. They were tracking all of these eye movements. It was very interesting. And so they just wanted to help people to change their behavioral patterns so that they could achieve their life, a happy life experience, or at least I hate using that word happy. I dislike using that word happy. A content life experience, a life experience that's healthy and feels like it is giving them the satisfaction and sense of purpose. So that's when all of this started, is back in like the 70s, I think late 70s, something like that. And now I'm a body worker, so when I took this course, it was not for body work. It was purely for studying the mind, and I have brought it into a somatic practice where I work with the body and the mind together on the table. Now, when we are going to be working together in the future, we're going to be working, hey Dominique, John, thanks for the love. When we're working together in the future, which will probably be next Saturday, I think I want to do a 3 p.m. Meeting next Saturday, and we're going to do parts work. We're going to be working with our own parts. So I think the homework that I'd like to give you today is just to spend some time with yourself to reflect on the parts of you that are no longer serving you. If they're not serving you in the big picture, if you've discovered new parts being sequestered that you didn't even know you had. I'm imagining all of these people who normally are keeping quite busy. We're very good. Humans are very good at keeping busy and keeping our minds busy and keeping everything going. And maybe some people are very much still doing that, and they're either going from, the computer or projects to Netflix. Maybe, no, too much screen time. I've got to get off of this phone, and then they go and turn on Netflix. And so I feel like all of that is totally, it's a part that's working for you. It's called avoidance. And I'm not judging, believe me. I'm not judging you at all. I think we all have avoidance, and it's our way of coping and being able to just kind of turn things off, so that, because we don't know, like our system doesn't know exactly how to take all of this information that we're getting right now. This is all very new. So that's something that we can work with. We can work with avoidance. We can work with fear. We're probably gonna be working with the ones that are causing trouble. So fear, anxiety, avoidance, that kind of thing. So just take some time in the next week, reflect on yourself. Just watch yourself, watching the world, see if there's a part there working for you, or many parts. We're made up of many parts. Like I said, they're all equal, they're all valuable. No part ever gets fired under this roof right here. And we just maybe might update their methods so that they can carry out their intentions even more efficiently for you, because they're working hard for you, right? Yeah. I know my parts work real hard for me. That's what they do. They're good little workers. So do that. Make a list throughout the week. Just notice, take note of your behavioral patterns, what they're doing for you, and how they're tripping you up, and we can work with that in the coming Saturday at 3 p.m. I look forward to it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.